He knew it would sting him, not once, not twice, but every single time. Yet the monk still reached out. Why would anyone help a creature that only brings pain? Is that compassion or foolishness? This story has lived for centuries. It's been passed from monk to monk, whispered under banyan trees, written in ancient texts, and it might just change how you see love, kindness, and forgiveness forever. This is the story of the monk and the scorpion. In the heart of a tranquil forest, beside a gently flowing stream, an old monk sat in meditation beneath the wide canopy of a banyan tree. The air was thick with the scent of earth and leaves. Birds chirped in the distance. A breeze rustled through the trees like the breath of the forest itself. The monk sat in stillness, unmoved, immersed in presence. Then, his eyes opened. He noticed movement in the water. A scorpion was caught in the current, struggling for life, its legs flailing, its claws clenching nothing but water. It was drowning. Without hesitation, the monk leaned forward, cupped his hands, and lifted the scorpion from the stream. But the moment he did, the scorpion stung him. The monk's face twisted slightly in pain, but he said nothing. He placed the scorpion gently on a rock beside the water. Moments later, the scorpion lost its grip and fell again into the stream. The monk, once more, reached into the water and lifted it out. And once more, it stung him. A traveler who had been watching all of this unfold stepped forward and said, "Master, why do you keep helping it? It keeps hurting you." The monk smiled. "Because it is the scorpion's nature to sting, but it is my nature to save." That one line, "It is my nature to save," has echoed through time like a bell in the mountains. It is simple, but it is not easy. It invites us to ask the hardest questions. Can I still love when it hurts? Can I be kind when others are cruel? Can I be true to my nature, even when the world tries to change me? Because maybe true compassion begins not when it's deserved, but when it's needed the most. He was stung, and yet he helped again. He knew the pain was coming, but he still chose to act with compassion. Why? Why would anyone continue helping when they know it leads to hurt? Isn't that weakness? Or is it something more powerful, something we rarely understand? What the monk did seems irrational to the modern mind. In a world that teaches us to protect ourselves, to fight back, to walk away when we are hurt, this monk leaned in. He did not avoid the sting. He accepted it. Not because he enjoyed pain, but because his compassion was not conditional. Think about your own life. When was the last time you offered kindness and received coldness in return? When was the last time you forgave someone, only for them to hurt you again? Most people would say, "Never again. I've learned my lesson." And yet, the monk knew the scorpion would sting him again. But he reached out anyway. Why? Because his compassion was not a transaction. He didn't say, "I'll save you if you promise not to hurt me." He said, "I save because that is who I am." And in that moment, we see the essence of Buddhist wisdom. True compassion has nothing to do with whether someone deserves it. It has everything to do with whether we can stay true to our highest nature. The Buddha called this quality karuna, compassion that arises from seeing the suffering of another as your own. Not pity, not superiority, but deep, intuitive recognition that we are all made of the same fabric. That behind every harsh word is pain. That behind every sting is fear. And behind every scorpion is a being drowning, struggling, desperate to survive. Compassion, from the Buddhist view, is not an emotion, it is a practice. It is not dependent on the behavior of others, it is rooted in the clarity of our own heart. The monk did not help because the scorpion was good. He helped because he chose to be good. regardless. But here's a disturbing truth: most of us are only kind when it's safe to be. We are generous when people thank us. We are patient when others are polite. We are loving when someone earns it. But the moment someone hurts us, we shut down. We justify our anger. We build walls. We say, "They don't deserve my kindness." But the monk's story asks a deeper question: are you acting out of love, or reacting out of pain? And which one truly defines who you are? In Buddhism, the goal is not to control others, it is to liberate ourselves. To act with compassion not because the world is fair, but because we refuse to become bitter. That is power. That is freedom. That is awakening. Imagine a world where we didn't base our kindness on how people treat us. Imagine being so free, so unshakable, that even when others lash out, you stay rooted in peace. That's not weakness. That's mastery of self. What if I told you that the more someone hurts you, the more powerful your compassion can become? What if the very thing you're trying to avoid, the pain, the sting, the rejection, is exactly where your liberation begins? This isn't just a story about a monk. This is a mirror, held up to your own life, your own choices, your own heart. And it goes straight to the teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha taught something radical: all beings suffer. And more importantly, no one wants to suffer. Even the scorpion, even the person who hurt you, even the one who betrayed your trust. Behind every act of anger, every word of cruelty, every sting, is a soul drowning in its own suffering. The Buddha called this dukkha, the unsatisfactoriness of life, the restlessness, the clinging, the fear. And the response to dukkha, karuna, compassion, not because they earned it, but because their suffering is real, and real suffering calls for real understanding. Think of it like this: if someone is drowning, do you ask if they're a good person before helping? No, because the drowning matters more than the story. And suffering is the same. The monk saw the scorpion not as an enemy, but as a being in pain. That is why he could act with clarity, even through the sting. But let's be honest, what do we usually do when we're hurt? We shut down, we harden, we vow to never be that vulnerable again, and in doing so, we lose touch with our nature. The very pain we try to avoid becomes the thing that controls us. The sting is no longer in the scorpion, it's inside our heart. This is why the Buddha didn't teach compassion as charity. He taught it as liberation. Because when you act with compassion, you're not only helping the other, you're freeing yourself from the poison of hate, bitterness, and revenge. You become untouchable, not because you're numb, but because you've stopped needing anything in return. No apology, no change, no approval. That's not passive. That's powerful beyond words. Ask yourself right now, who is your scorpion? Who keeps hurting you? And yet, deep down, you know they're drowning too? What would it mean to help them, not to fix them, but to remain true to who you are? Would you be willing to face the sting, if it meant keeping your soul clean? Or would you walk away, and carry that sting inside for years? This is the razor's edge of Buddhist compassion. Not blind forgiveness, not submission, but fearless clarity. To see pain, and not flinch. To feel hurt, and still choose peace. To be stung, and remain whole. But what if the scorpion never stops stinging? What if your kindness never changes anything? Is compassion still worth it when there is no reward, no change, no end? In the next part, we'll confront the hardest truth of all: why the most selfless acts may also be the most freeing, and how loving without expectation is not only possible, it may be the only way to truly heal. It's easy to admire the monk in the story. It's harder to be him, in real life. Because unlike the stillness of a forest stream, We live in chaos, deadlines, bills, traffic, conflict. We're surrounded by people who don't understand us, don't appreciate us, sometimes even try to hurt us. So how can we be compassionate when the world isn't? How can we hold on to peace when life keeps stinging? Maybe you've tried. You were patient with your boss until they blamed you again. You forgave your partner until they broke your heart again. You smiled at the rude customer until they yelled anyway. And each time you thought, why do I even bother? The sting feels personal. And that's when most people stop giving. They close off. They go numb. They say, this world doesn't deserve kindness. But Buddhism offers a radical response. The monk wasn't helping the scorpion to change it. He was helping because he refused to let the scorpion change him. And that's the secret. When you respond to anger with compassion, to noise with silence, to chaos with presence, you take back your power, because now your actions are no longer reactions. They are choices. And that is where your freedom begins. Think about it. If you only love when it's easy, what happens when it's hard? If you only give when people deserve it, what happens when they don't? Do you let them control your heart? Do you hand over your peace to someone else's behavior? Or do you anchor yourself in something deeper? So how do we live like the monk? In a world of scorpions, not by becoming martyrs, not by allowing abuse, but by cultivating wise compassion, the kind that knows boundaries, but still chooses kindness, the kind that says, I will act from love, not because you earned it, but because I refuse to act from hate. This doesn't mean letting people walk over you. It means standing firm in your values, without needing to destroy someone else. It means protecting your peace, not with anger, but with clarity. So ask yourself today, who is pulling you out of your nature? Who is triggering the worst in you, again and again? And what would it look like to return? Not with the same energy, but with your highest one? What would it feel like to be free, not when the world is peaceful, but while it's still on fire? You don't need a forest to find peace. You need a practice. You need awareness. And you need courage to be kind, even when it's hard. In the final part, we'll return to the monk, to what he taught, not through words, but through action, and why compassion without expectation may be the most radical spiritual revolution of all. He was stung again, but he didn't flinch. The monk simply looked at the creature in his hands, its tail curled, its body trembling, and with gentle eyes, he placed it back on the rock. One more time, one more act of compassion, not because the scorpion had changed, but because he hadn't. There will always be scorpions, people who misunderstand you, people who hurt you, people who can't see your heart no matter how wide you open it. But the question is not, will they sting? The question is, will I still be me when they do? That's what compassion without expectation really means. It's not passive. It's not naive. It's choosing love when hate is easier. It's choosing peace when chaos tempts you. It's choosing to save, even when it stings. Because who you become matters more than what they do. And in the end, the greatest power you hold is to keep your heart open in a world that keeps trying to close it. The monk was not trying to change the scorpion, he was mastering himself, and that is the way of awakening. But what if your compassion is seen as weakness? What if people take advantage of your kindness? And what if the one you keep saving is yourself? In the next journey, we'll explore the silent power of non-reaction, and how a monk who never spoke taught the world the loudest truth. Don't miss it. If this story touched something inside you, if you've ever been stung but kept your heart open, this space is for you. Like, share, subscribe, and above all, keep walking the path, with compassion, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are.